Welcome to the Back to Brick Property Podcast. I'm your host, David Lamb. On this podcast, we'll be stripping property investors and business people alike back to brick to find out how their journey can help you on your journey.
This podcast is brought to you by Orange Sales and Lettings. If you know someone that is looking to sell or let a home, please get in touch. Referral fees are available. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome to the Back to Brick Property Show, sponsored by Orange Sales and Lettings, the North East's property experts. I'm your host, David Lamb. On today's show, we have a real powerhouse of the property world. Not only is she an award-winning property investor, but she is also a best-selling author and international speaker, Kristina Castellina. Welcome, Kristina. How are you doing?
Thank you. And you said my name right as well.
Do you know what? I've been practicing all morning.
Kristina, and I'm like, go on.
Oh, honestly.
People that get it wrong.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good start then, because I've been practicing it all morning in the mirror. I've had a few guests on where I've read the surnames prior to the show, and I'm like, how the hell do I say that? So it sounds a bit rude at the start. You say, how do I say your surname? But I found yours quite easy, to be fair. So, but thank you for coming on. First of all, it's really good to have you on. Now you're based in Liverpool, aren't you? Yeah.
I live in Liverpool, but I'm from Blackpool.
That's right. Okay. So, I mean, it's a city that I absolutely love. I love spending time in Liverpool. And I hope the weather's as nice down there as it is up here today. It's glorious. Can't really tell. No?
A bit grey, to be honest.
Well, the sun's shining in the northeast, which is very rare. So, it's like 23 degrees.
Is it? Enjoy.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about, like, proper hot sunshine over the weekend, and we are not getting it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You need to move.
And it's my little boys' like end of year football awards, and everyone gets gazebos and they go to like the big field, and every year it rains.
Oh, really? Oh.
So we always like see people going, and I think, oh, the poor buggers. and this year it's our turn to actually do it. And I'm like, please don't rain, because it's not. No one wants to eat sandwiches in the rain.
No, soggy sandwiches. No.
Do it.
No.
You don't want to do it.
No.
Bring in like sausage rolls and eating it in the rain.
Yeah.
I'm not interested.
You have to get under your gazebo.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So are you based in the city itself or on the outskirts?
So I'm South Liverpool in a leafy village, but I can get into town in 20 minutes. So I've got the best of both worlds.
Brilliant.
Because I'm not really a city girl, to be honest.
No.
Stressing me out.
No, I like being close to cities, but like you say, a little bit of a quieter life, but access to the city whenever you need it. So it sounds like you've got it perfect there. So, so this episode is all about you. I want to find out what makes you tick, how you got to where you are today. It's an amazing story. You've got followed you for years. So yeah, it's all that good stuff, really. So if you don't mind, if we can go right back to the beginning, and if you can tell us how life began for you.
So when you say the beginning, are you talking baby or are we talking property?
I don't think you'll have many memories of being, hopefully never won't have many memories of being a baby, but no, how did life, so your childhood, where did you grow up?
Oh, well, you're opening a big can of worms there, David.
That's my job.
Yeah, okay. So, well, not normal, really. I was adopted as a baby.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that. So
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was born in Walsall, and the story behind it basically is my birth mum, had an affair with a married man who was Asian. And long story short, when her parents found out, they made her give me up for adoption because I was half Asian.
Really?
Yeah, isn't that mad?
Wow.
Okay. Mad? And what I think is crazy is that I've gone my whole life, and it's only since I've become an adult that I've even recognised, like, that racism has affected my life. Do you know? I don't know.
That's unbelievable.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
So I literally was like left in the hospital as a newborn.
Oh, bless you.
And then I was fostered for a little bit, but luckily I was just fostered by one family for 6 weeks, and then I went to my mum and dad. But in terms of like childhood, I would say it's like I have a lot of happy memories, but I've also had a lot of like uncertainty is the word I would use. A lot of like not really knowing like not trusting, feeling like I didn't fit in, looking at my mum and dad, don't look anything like my parents. I came out with like a monobrow and like a hairy back. Do you know what I mean? I was like black hair. My mum and dad are blonde. Just always questioning, and like, yeah. And then we moved around a lot as well. And I think there was like going up to the age of 10, I would say I lived a relatively normal life. I was very chatty and quite performery and quite attention seekery, I would say, and confident as well. Just a bit, yeah, just a bit weird, just a bit different. And then we moved to Scotland, and I went with this kind of like glittery personality and really didn't fit in and got bullied because it was a tiny little Scottish village and they don't really like outsiders, and they definitely don't like. Hopefully it's changed, but at that point they didn't like English people.
Right.
It really, really did not like the English, and we didn't get the memo.
Oh, right.
Like we didn't prepped for that, you know. I just thought everyone would like love me.
Yeah.
I was like, hi, I'm here, I've come from Birmingham, I'm here to make lots of friends. And everyone was like, no. No. So it was quite, yeah, it was, to be honest, like I'm laughing about it, was just really traumatizing. So from like 10, I think we moved when I was about maybe 10, 11, and then we moved back to England when just before I turned 15. That entire period of my life was just pure. I turned up as this like glittery sort of confident little girl, and I left absolutely ruined with no self-confidence, loads of self-hatred, thought that there's just something wrong with me, you know, it's all my fault. Which I think when you're bullied, you never think it's them, you always think it's you. Like you never look at the bully and go, actually you're just you've got some issues. You always just think, oh my god, it's me because I'm too more. It's me, like no one likes me, there's obviously an issue with me. So yeah, just and also in that time I'd got really kind of spiky because I was so scared of being bullied. I was then just couldn't really let people in properly. It was just, you know, just it's a horrible time as a teenager, right? For me it was anyway. And during that time I found out I was adopted, but not in a very helpful way. Basically, like my nan and granddad told me, but my mum and dad wouldn't tell me. And it was just really horrible because I felt like I had nobody. I felt really like isolated on my own. The only people I really felt like I could trust was my nan and granddad, and they were still in the Midlands. So just really horrible, to be honest. And then we moved to Blackpool, of all places, because I did ice skating, and we went there on holiday, and there was a really good rink. My mum's a bit mad, to be honest. And because there was a really good skating rink, and we'd met this like really good skating coach. My mum just is one of those people, she likes somewhere and then she just wants to move there.
I'll do that everywhere I go on holiday.
Gone on holiday to Scotland, and she was like, oh, it's beautiful here, let's move. It was literally like that. And then we went to Blackpool, and she was like, I like it here. I was like, yeah. And she's like, should we move? Okay. So we moved to Blackpool, which is the best thing that could have happened. The best thing. So I was going down a bad road in Scotland. I was hanging around with not great people and just on the wrong path, 100% the wrong path. So when we moved back to England, I was just at that point a bit broken, totally into like my figure skating, and just obsessed with music, absolutely obsessed with music. I really wanted to dance, but in Scotland there's no opportunity, there's no dance schools nearby. It's just nothing to do really. So as soon as I got to Blackpool, at that point, I had 1 year left before my GCSEs. I wasn't overly arsed with school. I was bright, but I'd been moved around so much that, like, there's things that I'd studied music in Scotland, and I was like A star. They didn't even have music at my new school. So there was a lot of things I was just a bit like,
unsettled.
Totally unsettled. That's exactly it. Totally unsettled. Really insecure, to be honest. Just wanted validation, which I am still a little bit like, which I try and work on. And some days I'm like, I'm fixed, and the next day I'm like, oh my god, I just hate myself. So it's like a constant, you know, reworking model. And then things started to get better for me when I finished my GCSEs, and I made the decision that I wasn't going to get A-levels. I was going to go to a musical theatre college. And luckily, like, one of the best in the country was in Blackpool. It's a private one called Phil Winston's Theatre Works, and it was like renowned. And they would just bring out year after year these amazing showgirls. And I was like, I don't know how they do it, but I want to be one of those. That's all I wanted. I was like, I want to be one of Phil Winston's showgirls. And obviously I didn't have much dance experience, and it, you know, the level of the quality of the dancers that they produced at that point was just fantastic. Half of them would walk straight into the West End. So I was kind of up against it to get in, but I could sing, had a natural ability to sing, and I had a little bit of something about me, a bit of character maybe, a bit of chat to get. I chatted my way and I sang my way in. So for 3 years, I did that, and I was the underdog, obviously, because I couldn't dance, but I worked my arse off. And I wish, like, looking back, I was so insecure. I never pushed myself to the front. I was all sort of like at the back. Always, I would like talk myself out of things all the time. And I just wish I had someone in my life at that point that could have said, read this book. Like, do you know about The Secret? Do you know about, just stuff that would have helped in my mind, because I didn't know. I didn't know I was sabotaging myself. And I'd had maybe a little bit of like the odd bit of therapy, but nothing, and not enough. I wish someone had sat me down and gone, listen, you've had a hard time, you've gone through a lot. Like, you'd read all these books and fill yourself up, and actually it's like, it's okay to love yourself. Like, just that I think would have really helped. But anyway, that's by the by. Didn't have that, as a lot of people don't. Most people don't. So kind of got through those 3 years and went in as someone that had a lot of natural ability, but was certainly not, a professional, and came out as good as everybody else, and then went straight into the music industry as a performer, singing and dancing. So I spent 10 years sort of traveling the world, singing in all different, some really rubbish things, some really good things, like sang at the MGM Grand in Vegas. I always had work. I was always working. Every year I did panto, so I was always like Snow White or Sleeping Beauty, like always like the princess. Sounds really like but when you're a performer, you're kind of trained that just if you can make a career from it, like, you've made it. And so to be constantly in work is such a great achievement. But looking back again, I feel like I always undersold myself in that I would always say yes to jobs and never hold out for what I really wanted. But that, again, comes with, like, learning. If I ever have kids that went into that career, I'd be so great, because I'd be like, no, like, you don't just say yes to anything. But again, I was just sort of like, just be glad to work. So I took some jobs that weren't great, but all in all, I had a really good career, and I had a really good reputation as well, especially like throughout Blackpool. And I'd always be the lead singer in any shows that would go on and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, I moved to London, and I really felt what it was like to not have money.
I bet.
Oh, and it was horrible. It was absolutely rotten. I was gigging when I could gig, but it's a different scene in London than it is in Blackpool. There's loads of work in Blackpool, but in London it's a totally different gig. So I was in an original band, and instead of them paying me, we'd have to pay them.
Oh, wow.
We would have to pay them, and then we'd have to sell tickets to get people through the door.
Right.
Just like flipped on its head. Like, I was in an original band, and then I was like gigging. And then when I wasn't gigging, I was teaching Zumba, had my own Zumba company, and I was selling shots, and I still had no money.
Bloody hell. Yeah.
So that really, like, put a fire in my belly, and someone approached me. This is years ago, before network marketing was like online and all of that sort of stuff, about network marketing, and just basically sat me down and said to me, if you trade your money, if you trade your time for money, you're never going to have true wealth, because you only have so many days. So even if you gigged every night of the week, unless they're paying you a shit ton of money, you're never, ever going to feel that financial abundance. No one had ever told me that. And I was like, and she was like, you need to read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Okay. So that changed everything. And as soon as I realised, because I was always in London, like, what do these people do? How do these people earn their money? Like, how can they afford to live this life? What is it they're doing? And I was always that person, like, curious. How do people earn money? And I just didn't realise that people owned assets. I didn't know about that. I come from a very working class family. No one invests. It's just not ever been in my sphere. So as soon as I realised, I was like, oh, well, I need a bit of that. I was obsessed, actually, with, like, passive income. So I chucked myself into network marketing, did very well. I was in the top 10%, but I found it very exhausting. I found it so draining, so tiring. But I read all the books and my mindset was like fire. Probably had a better mindset then than I do now, to be honest, because I was like, I couldn't get enough of it. I didn't have any kids. I had all the time.
Yeah.
I had all the time and energy as well. When you're young, when you're in your 20s, you're just like, I don't have that anymore.
No, I miss
those days.
I miss those. Oh, I wish I was like that now. To go back to that, just like energy, just excitement and fizz for life.
Yeah.
So that was when I was doing network marketing, and then I basically went to a free Rich Dad Poor Dad seminar to network for network marketing. And they were talking about property and buying property using other people's money. And I thought property was something that I would do once I've made my money in network marketing, which is that never, put it off.
When you've got cash.
When you've got cash,
When I've got, everyone thinks that. When I've got cash, then I'll buy. And then this like mad American guy was like, it was in Leeds, and he was like, you guys live up north, you can buy houses for 50 grand. If you're not buying a house, you're a dick. And I was like, fucking hell. And he was like, you don't even need your own cash. I was like, all right. Sold. Literally the easiest person to sell to, by the way. That was me. Green.
Yeah.
The greenest person, open to everything. So I'm like running to the back of the room with my credit card, signing up to a 3-day, as you do. And then obviously that 3-day was another sales pitch. So I invested my life savings to do a full-on like property training with mentorship. I think it's either 16 grand or 18 grand, but I think it was 18 grand, and I had 16 grand savings, and I put 2 grand on a credit card.
Yeah. What was it Trident, the provider? Yeah. Sorry, that's it. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Like Asset Academy.
That's right. Yeah, it's changed its name a few times.
Changed its names a fair few times, to be honest.
Yeah. That's amazing. Then someone in the network marketing space actually put you onto Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book. That's amazing.
It's amazing.
So in the network marketing space, are they literally just trying to drill down on your mindset, I guess, and get you into sort of that sort of space, using leverage, etc.?
Yeah, with network marketing, they were just getting you to read the books, the personal development books, to become so like not bulletproof, but that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to think of a more eloquent way to describe it. But for you to have such a great mindset that the setback, because it's so hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. You've got to be so on it. You've got to work hard. You've got to be willing to take rejection, which I was used to as a performer. You turn up to an audition, you don't get most of the jobs. That's how it goes. Which is why actually a lot of performers are great at network marketing, because they're glittery. They're glittery people. Yeah. They're sparkly, but they're also used to rejection. So that's why they make amazing network marketers. But yeah, so that they get you to read all the books, and they put me on this path that led me to property.
Brilliant.
Which then I left the network marketing company.
So then you went and did your full-time property course. Had you left the network marketing by that time?
No, so I kind of hobbled through doing too much. There was a crossover probably for a year, and I just couldn't do everything. I felt the guilt of like, oh, I'm not doing property well enough, but I'm not doing the network marketing well enough. And I was also singing all the way through all of that.
Spreading yourself thin.
Yeah, so I went back to Blackpool because it's great for investment. I also had loads of work there, so I could just easily settle into like not having had an agent that would book me out 6-7 nights a week. So I was working evenings, singing, getting in, living the life, going out drinking as well. Then getting up the next morning, usually hungover, and then doing viewings, and then also messaging people for network marketing and trying to lead a team. It was all too much, and I just started to really burn myself out. And the more burnt out I got, the more frustrated I became with network marketing. I think as you just get snappy as you're burnt out. So I was like, something's got to give. And I decided to step away from the network marketing. And the minute I did that, my property business flourished.
Brilliant.
Literally just took off, because I could then give it my full attention.
So tell us about that first deal then. How did it happen? You obviously you've been through your training. You're full of knowledge. You're full of confidence. Your mindset's in a great place from the books you've been reading, etc. What about that first deal? What did that look like?
So it's two. It was a JV on a 6-bed HMO. So these were off market. So I was everything they said to do, I did. I literally started my own leaflet campaigns, 10,000 leaflets going out,
Brilliant.
and it was this like really fed up retired landlord in his 60s. You know, the landlords that hate people, they hate tenants.
I know plenty of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens, I think, if you self-manage. So he'd
definitely.
That's what it right. So he'd self-managed these horrific, awful, bottom of the market, like DSS, a 6-bed HMO with benefit tenants that honestly you just wouldn't even want to touch the walls. And then the house that had been converted into 5 studios, equally miserable.
Right.
And he was just like, and he lived next door to his HMO. Can you imagine
Oh, wow.
how miserable it would be?
That's like the
Worst
scenario
ever.
Eddie was not a happy guy.
Poor Eddie.
So I negotiated these down to 79 grand each, but I didn't have the money, so I was blagging it. And I also didn't know anything about HMOs.
I was going to say, you've gone straight into a 6-bed HMO as your first deal.
Stupid, but it's because I wouldn't have picked it to be that way. The deals landed on my lap, and I'd negotiated them down because I was too scared to buy them. I just kept negotiating them down to the point where I was like, I'm gonna have to buy these now because they're so cheap. Like at that point they were worth 140 and I negotiated them to 79. But yeah, I had no idea how I would raise the money and what I would do, so I had no money. So it just happened, it coincided that I went to with Tigrant. They'd put on this expensive gala at the Savoy in London, like the yearly gala, which I wasn't going to go to because I thought they were ripping us off, because it was 250 quid on a Saturday night, plus hotel and train and all that. And you know, that's my Saturday night that I'd lose from singing, so I'd lose income. I wasn't going to go. And then someone said to me, he said, you need to start acting like the person you want to be and doing stuff for your future self, so you need to be there. I was like, all right, it's good advice. So I did. I went, and it's a good job I did, because I ended up, well, I got a bit drunk, to be honest. That's the truth. I got a bit drunk.
Normally helps.
Because I was like, I'm going to get my money's worth of the free champagne. Yeah. And I never had Saturday nights off, so it's so like, oh my God, I'm in London and it's just Saturday night and I'm not singing. It all just felt so excited. So I got a bit overexcited. Drank too much champagne. And then I'd taken all of my business cards, which basically had my face on, like my professional headshot from singing. Brilliant. And then my name, Blackpool. So I want to be memorable. I was like handing them out like sweets. Like, I'm from Blackpool, I've got great deals. And then this posh guy phoned me the next day. He was like, hello, we met last night. And I was like, oh God. And he was like,
oh dear.
What have I said? And he was like, apparently you've got great deals. And I was like, I do actually. Long story short, I sent over 2 proposals, which I'd like, they were horrendous, absolutely horrendous. These awful proposals that were like really unprofessional. I'd used like different fonts, multicoloured, because I really like colour. I love colour. So I thought, I like colour, surely everyone else does. All like different coloured texts. And then some pictures of the properties and the numbers. Sent them over and he was like, these are brilliant. I'll fund them. We'll do 50-50. We'll just do a JV, 50-50 split.
Oh, wow.
Well, that was the start of it. And he'd sold a business, but he was very green in property as well. But a great businessman, and he was just as excited as me. So it was a great match because we both wanted to go and buy loads of property. So that was the start of it. We did 6. So I think we did those 2. We did another 3 or 4 6-bed HMOs, and these were like just taking 4-bed houses and turning them into 6, or you know, with all the ensuites.
Converting them.
I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't have a clue. I was just learning on the job.
So who was getting you through the refurbs then? Did you meet a build team that, when you say you didn't have a clue, how were you getting the works done?
Awful builders that kept ripping me off, and that was the worst bit. Builders that were like just 2 really bad sets of builders that ripped me off and did a terrible job, and I was again just so green. I didn't know. So I gave my power away all the time. I was handing my power over to them, trusting everyone.
You've got to in the early days, yeah.
I think it happens to everyone, to be honest.
Of course it does.
Of course it does, yeah.
Yeah, so that was awful. And by the time we'd done, we had all the HMOs up and running, and we did a flip as well. I honestly hated property. I hated it. I hated it.
Why? Why did you hate it?
Just like how horrendous the relationship was with the builders. They were really threatening. In fact, that builder ended up going to jail because they ended up like doing it to someone else, and they ended up getting in a fight, and he like physically attacked someone in the street and ended up going to jail. Like just really bad people. I just obviously didn't know that. So I was just quite scared of them. I was in like in a horrible position where they were kind of like ripping me off, but I was quite scared of them, and they were quite threatening and intimidating. So there was that, and I felt like everything I'd done prior to that, like singing's very light, as in like it's fun. It's not life or death. Like what's the worst that's going to happen? You have a bad gig. Oh well. I'd gone from that and network marketing gained no risk to it, to all of a sudden being involved in property, which is, you know, massive overheads in terms of like refurb costings, and just using a different part of my brain that's just really like analytical.
A lot of responsibility.
Just the responsibility crippled me. It crippled me because I felt answerable as well to my JV partner, and also the HMOs had done it in completely the wrong area. It was so a couple of them were benefit tenants, which actually they weren't a problem because they stayed long term. They had no plan to ever leave, to be honest with you.
Are these in Blackpool still? Yeah.
This is Fleetwood, which is like outside of Blackpool.
On Fleetwood,
Quite, it's quite a deprived area, to be honest. So, and it was just really low level, boring stuff that the letting agent would bother me with, just like, but you should just constantly be saying, oh, so-and-so's been hanging her knickers out the window again. And, you know, Jamie's gone to jail and the police have kicked his door down. Just really like
social issues.
Uninspiring, sad, depressing stuff that I didn't really want to be involved with, to be honest. So I felt like I'd gained this second job in a really depressing environment. And the cash flow was also not great because the turnover from the other HMOs, and there was constant maintenance issues because the builders were so bad. I just felt like there was never enough cash flow for the amount of work and the amount of stress that I'd taken on. I was like, this is not the dream that I'd been sold. This is not for me. But then I had a massive fire in my belly as to like, I want to make something of myself. Not even that, but like I really wanted to set myself up because I didn't want to keep singing 7 nights a week. I couldn't do that with a family. It's tiring. It's really physically tiring. And I had this massive drive inside of me to build something that would give me time. That's what I wanted so much, was time. So I knew I couldn't quit, but I felt like quitting. There was a lot of tears and a lot of like, I'm just crap at this. No one's ever gonna take me seriously. You know, I've made so many mistakes. There was a lot of that going on. And around that time, my friend Danny, who had been my mentor on my 3-day, just said, listen, do you want a bit of help? Do you want some coaching? And I was like, yes. And it was like looking at the price thinking, God, I don't know if I can afford this. But I thought, well, I'll either hobble along on my own or someone that's really good can help me. And on our first meeting, I just cried the whole time.
Oh, bless you.
No, he really, bless him. He's a bit like, but he just said what needed to be said. Is he was like, you've done incredibly well. Like in a few years, you've bought all these properties and you've had the balls to do it. Like most people don't have the balls to ever do it. And you've done it. And yeah, it might not be the right strategy and you might not enjoy it, but let's just go back to basics and let's just build something. Because everything as well was in my JV partner's name. It was like his company. So it was almost, I felt like, even though it was split, I never felt like it was. I felt like I would just sort of get paid and I never understood what I was getting paid. And, do you know, I had no control. I was an idiot. I had no control. But it's turned me, I'm like a totally different businesswoman now than I was then. which all of that had to happen to change me and to turn me into a better businesswoman. So anyway, long story short, I went back to basics. I started buying in my own name, and I started working with private investors, just one at a time. Didn't happen overnight. And the first thing I bought on my own was a 1-bed flat for 35 grand. Did a 10 grand reno, and it valued at 60. And this is before the extra 3% stamp. It was all easy peasy stuff, really.
Yeah, remember those
and
days.
Remember those days. When there was no, it was just easy.
Yeah, it was.
Just rolled them out, buy to let. And I think I did about 10 back-to-back buy to lets in my own name. And my confidence soared. I found good builders. I had full control of everything. And I was way more on it. And I found my speciality in finding great deals, finding contacts, doing lots of off-market, great contacts with agents, and was in flow, and also more and more private investors. And basically from there, so I never really looked back. So just built the buy-to-lets, then I got into some SA, bought Highcliffe, which is 6 holiday apartments on the seafront, then Empress Hall, which is obviously a big, massive 10-bed. Yeah, that was another like sort of turning point moment for me, where I stepped into some bigger stuff, and that she turns over some great profit because she's so different. So it's a big 10-bed detached house, sleeps 20 guests, 4 stories, games room, cinema room. She's just like she's like an event space, really. And Botanical House, which is 4 more SA apartments, so there's 11 SA. Then carried on with the buy-to-lets and some flips. And it's not all being plain sailing, as it isn't. I think you have years that are amazing, and you have some years that are really difficult. And I think 2021, 2022 was really difficult, as it I think has been for a lot of investors. That was really hard. From a mortgaging point of view, I couldn't mortgage Empress Hall out for about a year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was stressful. I thought I'd never buy another house again, but like everything, it passes, and now I'm back on it.
And did you have had you used private finance to do Empress Hall, and then you couldn't finance off it? Right, okay. So obviously your investors were quite understanding about that at the time, or?
Yeah, they were. I was having to pay them quarterly.
Right, okay. Right, that's not so bad.
That's not so bad.
Better than bridging.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But it's just the mental stress of it. It was the unknown of like, what is actually going to happen here?
Yeah, for sure. So you've done loads of strategies along the way there, and in quite a short space of time as well. You've absolutely smashed it. Out of all those strategies you've mentioned, is SA your favourite, or you keep going back to your buy-to-lets, as I do, to be honest? What would you say is your favourite strategy out of the lot?
No one's going to want to hear this, but it's buy-to-let.
Yeah. Same here.
Buy-to-let. And now, so this year, so I've done 4 deals this year. I want to do 8, and I want half to be flips and half to be buy-to-let. And just think, even on the most basic level, if I do 4 buy-to-lets for the next 5 years, that's another 20 buy-to-lets. And I would rather do that than 1 SA. I would, because it's recession-proof. They are recession-proof. Yeah. They're a dream. They run like a dream. People will need them forever. They're easy to buy. They're easy to sell. They're easy to mortgage, like all of it. And I think there's different kinds of investors. And whilst I am a businesswoman, I'm a lifestyle investor. And I recognise that about myself. And so buy-to-let works brilliantly with the kind of life that I want to lead. And I outsource everything. Yeah.
So you've got a management team in place, you've got a good build team to do your refurbs. Are you BRR in your buy-to-lets?
Everything's BR, everything.
Yeah. Brilliant. And are you still using the same investors from day one as you are now?
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And how have you attracted those investors over time then?
So to begin with, a lot of it was just me talking about what I was doing on socials. And sort of saying, yes, another offer accepted. And then people just sort of going, how are you doing it? What are you doing? And then me saying, oh, well, I work with private investors. And just having those conversations. And now it's mad. People just inbox me.
Really? Brilliant.
Just word of mouth. A lot of word of mouth. My friend's an investor. Can I invest? They kind of come to me now. And I sort of, a lot of the time, I'm like, I don't need any more funding right now. But it's great to have that options, as an option. I have first time this year I did bridging as an experiment.
Right, okay.
because I coach a lot of people, and I feel like if they're using bridging, I need to know myself what process they're going through.
Yeah.
And I didn't love it. And comparing it to angels, you can't compare it. Like, angels are just so easy.
Yeah, for sure. Especially if you've got that existing relationship. You've obviously built up a great track record over the years. So, you know, word gets about. If you're paying your investors back on time every month, which obviously you are, then other people are going to hear about that, aren't they? And it's easy money for them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the dream, isn't it? Sometimes I think, gosh, will there be a point where I just go, I'm going to be an angel?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen eventually. Yeah, I've thought about that. So tell us a bit more about Empress Hall, because I watched that on your socials. It looks an amazing place. How did you find that building, first of all?
It was on the market. It was during the boom as well. So there was a time where everything was selling and this wasn't. And I thought, okay. I mean, it's not that it wasn't. It was just one of the only ones not under offer. And it had. I was purposely looking for something big.
Yeah. And was it a 10-bed originally, or did you make it into a 10-bed?
So it was a 10-bed. It was originally a guest house that had been turned into a home. And it had been advertised. Who is it with now? It might have been like Springbok. It had been advertised completely wrong. They had it on, I think, as like a 4 or a 5.
Sounds like Springbok.
Yeah, honestly, all the information was completely incorrect. So I looked through the pictures and I looked at the listing. I thought, they've not got this right. It's not right, this. So I thought, I just need to see it. It was far more pricey than what I had been looking at. But I thought, I'm just going to look because it looks intriguing. And I rocked up and I was like, this is just the gift that keeps on giving. It is 10 legitimate large bedrooms, 8 en suite.
Wow.
Yeah, then you've got all of these extra rooms. You've got this massive tiny dining hall. Then you've got 2 reception rooms. Then you've got downstairs another 3 reception rooms downstairs. Massive, like, staircase that spirals up with I just thought this is a commercial asset. And it was a lady living there with a son knocking around. It's crazy.
Wow.
Crazy.
Is that in Blackpool again?
Yeah, in Blackpool. Yeah,
Brilliant.
like a 10-minute walk from the town centre.
Yeah. So I guess that place obviously lends itself ideally to people on holiday, but also wedding parties and stuff like that. Because I know you've got like games rooms and stuff. It looks amazing. Yeah.
We have all sorts. We have like corporates come and book it for like team bonding. We've had wedding parties, loads of like 40th, birthdays and anniversaries. People run events there. Like people will run marketing events. I've ran events there, like property trainings there where it's have 20 guests and then I'll present in the dining room.
Perfect.
It's a really cool. Yeah, I did have my book launch there as well, which is really
amazing.
Cool.
So it is. It's a versatile space, isn't it? When you've got that many rooms and the rooms are of the size they are, it lends itself to a number of things, doesn't it? So how were the numbers on that? You don't have to tell us the numbers specifically, but did it work out as a in the short term? Obviously, it's a good long-term investment, but in the short term, did it work out?
Well, so short term, it was a massive pain. It was painful. Short term, I think, what did I pay for it? I know it's mad that I should know this. I used to remember every single property, and now they all merge into one. Yeah. It's crazy. Do you have that?
I get that sometimes, yeah. There's certain properties that I own that I'll always remember the numbers on just because the deals were so good or something went wrong. But the normal ones that are just generic deals, yeah, I forget half the time, yeah.
Yeah, it's mad. I either paid 300 or 400 for it. It was because Highcliffe was 290. That one sticks in my mind at Highcliffe. But Empress, I don't know if it's 300 or 400 I paid for it. Spent about 100 grand on it. Valued at 620. So I've left quite a lot of my own cash in that.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, at that point, I was just so happy to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
But on paper, in terms of like cash left in, it's the worst deal I've ever done.
Right, okay.
The worst deal I've ever done because I've always been not lucky because I negotiate hard, in terms of and I put the time in to view lots of property. Generally, all the buy to lets and stuff, I leave no more than 5 grand in. A lot of them are money in, money out, or 5 grand. The odd one that's like 7, but I've always worked at that level. Whereas this, I was like, oh man, the SA stuff has all been really hard to mortgage out.
Yeah.
And that's where I've left cash in deals. But in terms of cash flow, it cash flows very well.
Yeah, so you don't mind.
Yeah, it cash flows really well. And I know that, and because it's a business and they look at your accounts and all of that, I know that in a few years I'll be able to mortgage out at probably 750, 800 based on the turnover. So it's a bit of a longer play. But yeah, there's been a few sort of sleepless nights with it and feeling frustrated. But in terms of an asset, the bookings go from strength to strength to strength. And I thought, because it's so big and it's so not expensive, but it is, it's not £100 a night. You're talking £1,000 a night for it. I thought that it would be a place that people would come to and we wouldn't see again. But they come and then they go, oh my God, we must come back for your birthday. And we have people come back. This year we've had the same people come back 3 times. They've booked 3 times for the same year.
Brilliant.
Because they love it.
That's testament. And I guess, just touching on the bigger deals there and leaving money in, that's something I've done at a lot of the bigger commercial properties that I've bought. Some of them I have left big chunks of money in, but I haven't cared because I know that the cash flow so well. But I do think as you do go along the journey and you do scale up and buy bigger properties, I don't think you can be afraid to leave a bit of cash in, because buy-to-lets, you get used to pulling your money out and recycling, going again. But you're really limiting your search when it comes to the bigger deals if you're scared of leaving funds in deals.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially with things, things just cost more.
Of course they do.
I just think that's the way it is,
Yeah.
and you've just got to be open to it. And so that's been good for me because it's really stretched me.
Yeah.
It's really stretched me. So it's all been a good learning.
Yeah, of course.
And I tend to, the way that I work is like I work best when I focus on a strategy. So that SA stuff was like bang, 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 11. And then I'm quite comfortable with that. I don't want any more because I want an easy life. And I think you get to a point where you're like, and
they are a business. Yeah.
It's business. It's hospitality.
Yeah. Of course it is. Yeah.
So I'm happy with what I've got, but I don't want any more. And then that's where I've turned my attention to flips, and I am buzzing. The buzz you get from a flip.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it.
I love them as well. You can, especially for someone like yourself who's clearly creative. You can use a bit of your design flair because you want to attract as many buyers as you can, and it's big lumpy cash as well, which is always nice.
It's nice when we've got because I started getting the flips in the pipeline last year, and now they're all completing one after another. Bang! There's always in the pipeline now 2 in legals to buy, but 2 in legals selling.
Brilliant.
So I feel like there's always big pots coming in, big lumps coming in.
Yeah.
That I'm like, yes, but you're just on one then, right, that's going to go in that one, that's going to go in that one, and I just love the momentum that it creates.
Yeah, for sure. So are you looking to build that pot up and then buy as many buy-to-lets as you can with that cash? Is that what you're doing, just retopping up the pot?
Yeah, pretty much. I think I only used to flip 1 a year, and I just did it sort of meh. Whereas I never used it as a strategy, as a wealth I never saw it as a wealth creation strategy.
No.
Whereas now, I just think, as long as the market holds for it, because sometimes market conditions change and it just becomes more difficult. But as long as the market lends itself to be able to do flips, I'm like, why would I not be doing 6 figures a year from flips forever?
100%. So you obviously find them quite easy to find then, flips, because in the northeast they are quite difficult to find, I find.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I'm getting most of them from auction and off market.
Yeah.
And I've got an agent that does send me the odd one.
Brilliant.
He'll send me that's a corker. So I sort of I know where to look, so it's I think it's difficult if you're just getting everything off the open market.
Very difficult. Very difficult. So what's the best bit of advice, Kristina, you've got for someone looking to attract private investment? Then they've got a few properties, they're just getting started in the journey and they're running out of their own money. What's the best bit of advice you'd give?
Tell people what you do. I think if you take people on the journey with you, people are intrigued. I think you've got to think of it like your shop. Like if you don't have your open sign, if you don't have what you have for sale in your shop window, how can anyone work with you? So it's just like doing it in a way that's authentic to you, but just creating intrigue. Is so you, and I think people shy away from social media, but I think if you're not using social media in today's day and age, getting less time.
Yeah.
Free. It's free marketing. even if it's just Facebook and it's people and people like, oh, but it's just friends I've known for years. Good.
Mm-hmm.
They're the people most likely to lend to you.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's literally like a little story like, offer accepted, now to raise the finance, sweat face. That, do you know what I mean? Like, you don't need to go into huge amounts of detail, but it's about creating that intrigue to then have that conversation and be very, very clear with what you offer. I think if you don't know what you're offering yourself, then no one's going to lend to you. So it's confidence and clarity, and being able to present what you have to offer in a way that people can understand. So whenever someone shows interest, I'll send them a proposal that clearly outlines the deal, the risk for them. They need to know, I don't want to be like, you're not going to get your money back, because like they always do. But this is a business. What I'm going to offer them, security, whether that's a first charge or it's just going to be a loan agreement, so they can understand exactly what it is that I'm offering to them.
Yeah, for sure. What would you say the biggest challenges have been along your journey? It sounds to me like you've got an amazing mindset, and you've really worked on that mindset over the last decade or two. So, but what's been the biggest challenges that have come along your way?
My biggest challenges for sure are, I always feel, well, one of my things I feel is I don't think big enough.
That's my problem some of the time as well, yeah.
Yeah, I always feel like I don't think big enough. Luckily, touch wood, I've not had this for a long, long time, but in the beginning was builders, for sure.
Yeah.
And then the 2021-22 was very tricky, just with interest rates flying up the way they did, and not being able to mortgage Empress Hall was so stressful. But that's all, you kind of go through these. Business is never, ever, ever just one. It's always going to have the ups and the downs. And I think actually it's really nice to have lived through that cycle, because I feel now I've got so much more insight and so much more wisdom to know that the bad times pass and the good times come again.
Yeah,
sometimes
for sure.
Sometimes you can be like, oh my God, this is ever going to end. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this year's been a dream.
Yeah.
It's back to how it was, but you never have that. Every year's going to be amazing. But in terms of like my own sort of, I think probably, it's not self-doubt. It's probably I think I just have insecurities like everybody else, where you just think, everyone has their own.
Course we do. Yeah, Chimp Paradox is a good book on that, isn't it? And you've performed in front of thousands of people in the MGM arena. You've been on stage in London. You're now doing huge property deals, teaching other people how to do it. Yet you're still sat there, and you've just said you've got self-doubt. It's ridiculous when you put it like that, but it'll always be there, won't it?
The one thing I would say to people is try not to compare, because it's pointless. It's pointless. And I did that for a long time. I compared myself to other people. And all it does is make you feel shit. What is the point? That is not a positive. So if ever, like when someone's doing really well, I've always been the type of person, if someone's making money, it always inspires me. So if someone's doing well in property, I'm always like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And I use it as a positive motivation.
Yeah.
But I try not to get sucked up in, so-and-so's doing 10 developments and da-da-da. I've got with wisdom sort of like, okay, that's fine for them, but I'm doing me.
Yeah, we're all now our own journey, aren't we? And it's comparison is the thief of joy. They always say that, and it's so true, especially in the property space. Everyone's doing completely different deals in completely different parts of the country or completely different parts of the world. You can't sit and compare yourself to other investors.
And everyone's got a different back. So some people start this with millions already in the bank.
Yeah, they won't tell you that, half of them.
That's it. And some people start with nothing. Well, how can you compare that?
Exactly.
You can't compare it.
No.
They're in a totally different position.
Yeah.
They can buy things at full market value, leave their cash in every single deal.
Exactly, yeah.
Can't compare.
Yeah. So where do you see where's your happy place with the portfolio? What portfolio size do you see you amassing before you think, do you know what, I'm happy?
I would like 50 buy-to-lets. At least, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I enjoy property, so I think to begin with, everyone's running away from something. I was running away from, I wanted to get out of the job, I wanted to get out of singing. And, you know, it's like, when I have this, then I'll stop. When I have this, I'll stop. But actually, I've realised I just really like property. So instead, I've kind of made peace with, I'm probably going to be still doing deals in my 60s and 70s. And that feels good. That feels really good.
Yeah.
So I think inevitably I'll probably end up with hundreds of houses because it will naturally happen.
You enjoy the process.
I love it. I love the thrill of the deal. I just love the thrill of a deal. And I think the only thing that would stop me is if I go back to performing, which I probably will at some point in the next few years. I probably will go back to performing, but it's so restrictive being in a show. They own you. They literally own you.
Yeah,
and I've got kids. I couldn't go on tour. So it'd be really tricky to even find something that would work. But I'd probably do panto for a Christmas season. But then I'd go back to investing. So I just don't think I will stop, really.
No.
There'd have to be something, you know, maybe when I'm a grandparent or something. But at the moment, I'm like, what would I do? What would I do in my time?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know that it's in my earlier life, I always used to say, oh, when I retire, I'll do this. When I retire. Now I'm doing something I love. I say it all the time. I never want to retire, and that sounds cliche, but I genuinely don't. Like, same as you, I love doing the deal. Love getting the deal over the line. I love turning an ugly house into something beautiful. I love the whole process of it, and because of that, I'm the same as you. I see myself doing property deals in my later life. Why wouldn't you if you love it?
Is it? And also, like with my kids and stuff, I think, you know, by the time I'm in my 60s, they'll be grown men and they can do whatever they like. They can do whatever they want. But if they were interested in property, we'd be doing it as a full-on family. You know, I want to be investing long enough that they, if they want to, can be part of the family business, you know. And I also think as well, when you get, you know, I'm quite privileged in the fact that this morning I went to the gym, I was at the spa yesterday. Life's already good. I don't need to retire from anything because if I want a week off, I take a week off. And I don't feel like I work that hard, really.
No, that's brilliant, and that's what property gives you, isn't it? It gives you options. You know, you can go and do it, get involved in a show again if you wanted to. You couldn't do that if you didn't have all your property income coming in. So it's giving you choices, hasn't it? So I just want to speak about the north of England in particular, just for a minute, because obviously you have you gone into different geographical areas, or are you still in Blackpool?
So I do the whole of the Fylde coast, and recently I've done 2 in Prescott, Merseyside. They're my 2 in Prescott that I've done. But a goal of mine for this year, I need to start buying in Merseyside. I'm absolutely nuts to live in Liverpool and not buy property here. But it's that thing. The resistance for me is builders but I found builders to do those 2 deals. And also as well, I think when you've been in property a long time, people just don't fuck with you anymore because I make it very clear from day one. I'm just like, this is how I think it's going to be. I try and drop a few names so that I've been in the game 11 years. You do, just so they know, like, they don't want to mess with you.
Pull the wool over your eyes.
Yeah. So I go at it from a totally different place than I did 10, 11 years ago. So probably be a lot easier finding builders now. But yeah, that's one of my goals, that I absolutely should be doing it on my doorstep because it would be easy, it'd be quicker. I'm doing a 3-hour round trip going back to Blackpool. Yeah,
and Liverpool's got so much opportunity, surely. It's a big city, it's heavily populated. You know, they're seeing great capital growth. I mean, when you're buying your buy-to-lets now, are you solely looking at your cash flow still, or are you investing in slightly better properties these days, looking at capital growth?
Mixture. So I've tactically... The latest 2 I've purchased have been tactical in that they've been in an area that's having a lot of regeneration. The prices haven't caught up yet, but I just think if it keeps happening, it will. Because it's one of the, I just think eventually everywhere will end up with regeneration. It just takes time.
Of course it does.
Where I invest, it's had a bit of growth, but it's not, it has to come because we're running out of land. So eventually these small seaside towns get the funding, and they are getting funding, but there's a particular area that's had a bit of regeneration, so I've tactically purchased there. But in the meantime, they're cash flowing like 320 quid, even at interest rates at like 5%, they cash flow 320. So I'm like, in a few years, they're going to be cash flowing 500 quid for a little house that I bought for 60 grand.
Exactly. Yeah, and hopefully rates will come down a little bit as well, so that profit margin might be even bigger, so... And like you said, they're just so easy.
you can get great cash flow and buy to let. I think everyone has it stuck in their mind it's 200, 250, but it's not.
No, I wouldn't buy a property if it was that.
Yeah.
But you see people online all the time slagging it off and saying, what's the point when you're going to make 200 quid a month? Well, yeah, the minimum I make is sort of 300 to 350. Some of them a lot more than that.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think with property, the longer you're in it, the better off you're going to be, because your mortgage stays small, you get your growth, but your rents keep going up.
Of course it does. Yeah, without a doubt.
And up.
Yeah.
And when rates come down, you just fix for as long as you can.
Yeah. Of course, and then inflation's eating away at your mortgage, the mortgage that you owe anyway. So I guess what does a day in the life look like for you at this stage? It sounds like yesterday was a spa. Today you're at the gym and talking to me. What is do you have a typical day? Do you have much structure in your day to day?
Yeah, I try. So I do since having kids. I never used to, but now I have so much structure because I get up, get the boys to school. I tend to go down the gym, that was one of my biggest goals for this year, was to put my health first, because last year I worked really hard. I achieved a lot, but health-wise, I was just putting weight on and just not. It was all going in the wrong direction, and I thought, no, there's no. So I invested in high performance coaching, like a one-to-one package. So yeah, it's been transformative. I go to the gym, I lift weight, I eat really well. So that's my priority. If I'm tired, I don't work. That goes first now. So I'll go to the gym, do the school run, gym, come home. I usually maybe have like a coaching call with one of my coaching clients. Take the dog for a walk, have some lunch. Then I'm always looking for deals. So I'm usually like crunching numbers. Sometimes meet someone for lunch. It differs really, but generally it boils down to I try to keep it. There's always admin as well. I'm always paying someone. There's always
admin. Yeah, hate admin.
There's always a bit of council tax that needs to be paid.
Oh God, it's the worst.
All of that takes up a bit of time, to be honest. So I'm in my office a bit doing that boring stuff, but generally, yeah, it's kind of quite. Yeah, I don't have like set days with set things.
Yeah.
I can't work.
Yeah, for sure. So where do you see yourself in 5 years then? Do you think that far ahead? What does the future hold for Kristina?
5 years we'll be in a bigger house for sure, bigger home. That's on the goals. I know exactly where I want to live.
Do you? The exact house or the street? Yeah.
But there's not many houses on the street, so they don't come up very often. Right. I have to wait, but I know where I want to live. But I love where we live at the moment. We live on a gorgeous little close, and everyone on the street has all got kids, and all our kids play out on the street. All the doors are open.
Brilliant.
It's like going back in time. They're all in and out of each other's houses. It's gorgeous. So I love where we live actually. So I'm not in any mad rush. But 5 years, I'd like to say I've either been on stage or I'm back in the game. I'm doing something, even if it's like I've got a presenter job and I'm doing something a bit creative.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if I don't, I'll get old and I'll look back and I'll really regret it, because my kids are a bit older now. Evan's just turned 5, so I've got a little bit more flexibility. Couldn't do it when they were babies, but I feel like I'm getting a bit more freedom. So I would like to see some performer element. I think I'll still be buying houses. What else? Yeah, I find it really, really hard to see like the bigger. I just do, and look back and go, bloody hell, that's mad.
Yeah. You're obviously teaching quite a lot of people how to invest in property these days. Do you get a lot of enjoyment out of that?
Yeah, I find it so fulfilling. I find it really inspiring as well. You know, someone else is on it.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
I love that. But as soon as I finish the call, I'm like, right, then I'm gonna look. You know, I find. Not everyone's like that, and that can be equally frustrating. I find it frustrating because you want everyone to do it and you can't do it for them.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're like, that's painful.
Yeah, it's frustrating at times. Yeah,
it's so frustrating. But generally, if I'm working with someone that's on it, I love it.
Yeah, I think working with someone like that makes you a better investor. When you're having these conversations with them and you're showing them the way, it keeps you sharper. It keeps you inspired, like you've touched on.
Yeah, and it makes you take responsibility all the time to be on top of. You want to know what's going on, so you can. I feel responsible to be able to pass on what's going on all the time. So it does. Yeah, I find it. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. So on that, what would be the best piece of advice you'd give to a brand new property investor today?
Oof. I would say if they haven't started reading any personal development, to start in the mind, because it's all up there. Investing, like, everyone can do the same thing, but equally, it's blocks. It's money blocks that stop a lot of people. Fear, money blocks. So I think if you can get your head in the right place, the rest can follow, because the rest is just, if you do this, you will get X result generally. Because they're houses, they don't talk back, they don't have a personality. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I think working on your mindset, if you can get a coach or at least learn about the market, because I think if you don't understand how the system works, how strategies work, little tricks, little tips that you don't know unless you're an investor, I think do that, and then set goals, be accountable to yourself. Think if you haven't got a goal, you're not gonna.
Don't know where you're going, do you?
You don't know where you're going, do you? You don't know where you're going. So I think having really clear goals is so important, and breaking it backwards into like weekly and monthly, like to-do actions to get to the end result.
Yeah.
And I think also one thing I would say, because we're in a world where everyone's like, making property sound very get rich quick, and I just don't think it is.
No.
So I would say people massively overestimate what they can achieve short term. I did it.
Yeah.
But then they also underestimate what they can achieve long term.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
So I think if you're and people quit the job too soon, they're like a year in and their cash flow's up and down and they quit the job, and I'm like, you just put stress on your shoulders.
Of course you are, and lending becomes more difficult when you haven't got the income, etc. So yeah, people are always in a rush, aren't they? But yeah, I think
they're in a rush. And I think at the end of the day, property is work. So when people don't want to work, that worries me, because I just think, well, you're not going to be just sat on your backside doing nothing here. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's good to be a grafter. If you're a grafter, like, you will do well. And I think when people just want to quit their job, and I'm like, oh, you've got to work hard for a fair few years to build something to then chill your beans and be a little bit lazy.
Yeah, for sure. And on the goals thing, I think it's very important to set goals that actually mean something to you. I see all the time people setting goals, and I drill down on it, and they'll have a list of goals, and then they'll see someone on Instagram that's bought 7 HMOs, and they'll go, oh, well, that's my goal now then, because I've seen it, and it means nothing to them. I know everything's so in our faces now with social media, but you have to really sit down. I've done this myself over the years. Really sit down and really make sure those goals mean something to you, not just what you think you should be doing because the next person's doing it, type of thing.
Yeah. Totally agree. And staying in your lane, setting the goals that mean something to you, that move the needle for you, and just having your blinkers on. I mean, that's great. They're doing all of that. And you've got to take things with a pinch of salt, because a lot of the times you see all this stuff, and a lot of it just isn't accurate.
No, it's not, and it's not difficult to look people up online now and see if they are genuine. But people don't do it. So, just finally, if you could start all over again, would you do anything differently?
Well, if I was to start again, I would actually. I would do flips. I would try to really get as good as I am now at flips, with good creative ideas of what looks good. I would do flips and buy-to-lets, and then I would carry on with the SA. I would always have done that, so that wouldn't have changed. I would have done exactly the same. 10 buy-to-lets, then gone into SA. I would have been flipping along the side, I think, and cut all that HMO. The thing is, I always would have ended up doing HMO, because you don't know until you try, but I wouldn't have done it as my first strategy. Yeah,
for sure. I think your journey has been amazing, Christine. Honestly, it's a very bespoke journey, sort of that you've experienced. From your unsettling start of life to going straight into the deep end in property and learning a lot of probably quite expensive lessons in the early days, but they've made you who you are, and the lessons that it's taught you. The sky's the limit for you. I'm absolutely sure of that. So I just want to thank you so much for your time today and coming on. Like you say, your story's an amazing story. I'm sure that the listeners will get a lot out of it. Where is the best place for people to find you?
So my website, I've got a free cash flow spreadsheet for anyone that wants it. They just go on my website, which is KristinaCastellina.co.uk. So literally my name, .co.uk. And then in terms of socials, I'm quite active on Instagram. That's kind of where I hang out, really. Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah. And where do people buy your book?
Amazon. Starting from
Starting from
zero.
zero.
How
Brilliant.
to invest in
Brilliant.
property using other people's money.
Excellent.
Excellent.
You must have had a lot of traction from that as well, because it's quite a well-known book now.
Yeah, it's mad, you know. Sometimes like people book calls with me to talk about coaching, and I'll say, so how have you come about me? And they're like, well, I just went on Amazon and I searched books, and then yours came up and I just picked yours, just put a couple in the basket. Yours was one of the, read the book, loved it, and now I'm on a call with you. I'm like, wow, that is mad, because that is literally just out in the world now doing its own thing without, I don't really plug it much anymore because I forget, get bored.
Yeah.
I'm on to the next. That's me all over.
Are you going to write another one?
No, God, no.
You didn't enjoy it?
Didn't enjoy it.
No, I did. I really did enjoy it, but I feel like it took over my life for a year.
Oh, gosh.
And also, it's all like, it's that serves a purpose, and until it's redundant, it's fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Brilliant. All right. Well, thanks again, Kristina. Thank you for your time. Really do appreciate it. If you have enjoyed the show, please do like, share, and subscribe. It really does help. Until next time, take care.